Hello, Solo Board Game Guide here, and this video is a touch different to the things I've been doing in the past, which have generally been playthroughs and reviews and a few crafty videos in the board game space as well. This is my attempts at designing a solitaire board game, and it's the kind of game that I wished would exist. As you know, I absolutely love the Tiny Epic series, and in particular Ultra Tiny Epic Dungeons, because I adore the fact that you fit an entire deep game in a tiny card box. So I want something that scratches my RPG itch, that fits in a card box, certainly no more than a little bag. So this is what I'm coming up with. This has been buzzing around my head for years, and this is pretty much the first time I'm prepared to share even this early version with the outside world. So I've nominally called the game Decline, because it's a solitaire RPG tactical combat game set in a fantasy world where basically everything's starting to fall apart a little bit and go into decline. I've chosen this setting because I basically love the story, The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I also am fascinated by the idea of a great empire starting to slowly crumble. And I think Isaac Asimov in the Foundation series hints at that. They've got all this amazing technology, but there's just tiny little bits of erosion at society and choices from leaders, which basically means everything's fallen apart. So this RPG is set in this world where basically everything's crumbling. Why? We don't know. It could be due to some kind of magical force, it could be corruption in the leadership, it could be any number of natural events that's happening, and that is going to be the job of our protagonist to find out through a series of encounters. And the encounters we played across basically poker-sized terrain cards. These are just rough sketches. I've downloaded MapForge and I've started to knock together some actually pretty convincing terrain cards that are going to basically modular and line up to make different landscapes. They're going to be, whether it's going to be 2x4 or 3x2, I don't know yet. I may go for this kind of format just so that it fits in, one of the Ultra Pro style trading card sleeves, so that the cards don't slide around too much. But that's for later on. But I thought I'd share a couple of things with you. First off, I really like the idea of using little 10mm miniatures. These are from Pendraken, just random ones. These probably won't be final, but as a concept, look at the detail in that. That's a little dwarf warrior. This is just a skeleton archer, but he's a militia man in my first little encounter that I'm just playing with. So if I can, I'm going to just share a few rules with you, and I'd love some feedback. And if this kind of thing interests you, then down in the description down below I've set up a little mailing list. So I intend to kickstart this eventually, bearing in mind that this has been a work in progress for 3 years. But sign up to the mailing list. If this is any interest to you, you'll get first dibs on the Kickstarter. So in this situation, we start off behind a wall, and we've got our little militiaman who's nominally put here. There'll be like a too many bones style battle queue system, which I'm not going to demonstrate in this, but basically when there's multiple enemies, they will take place in a certain order. But in this is an example of how some cards could be laid out to create a landscape. And on the reverse of these cards, what I'm hoping there'll be 52 cards in a pack, so the potential of having around 40 different missions, whereby on the back of a mission card, which could be this one, this could be mission 2, on the back of it will be instructions of how to lay out the cards and set up instructions and a little bit of flavour text. And I've been working on that. I've got a big Evernote file with lots of different encounters set up that are feeding into the story of Decline. And the first iteration of it is all wilderness and a few little town and village encounters trying to investigate what's going wrong in this world that I've called Voland. So this probably looks fairly familiar. We've got some stat blocks. We have a movement in squares, number of squares. an agility, a strength, a toughness, and a number of health points, which is all pretty standard stuff. But a mechanic that I really like that has come, I guess, from Deep Space D6, probably a little bit of War Machine in there as well, is the idea of rolling a big handful of dice and then being able to affect the outcome of those dice by changing things and spending points to influence what's actually happened. So all of the combat and a lot of the decisions will be based around 4 of the dice, starting from working down from D20 basically. So D20, D12, D10, D8, and these are special dice. I've put those to one side for now. So what would happen is you've got a number of action points. Start off with 5. So if I wanted to enter melee combat with this guy, I would simply move 1, 2, 3. That's my full movement allowance. I've used 1, and I hit on any scores of 1 or 2. So I haven't hit. So with my action points, I can either change the dice value up or down. So in this case, I'll change it down to 2, and I will have scored a hit. Or I could use it to re-roll an entire set of dice, or I can use it to perform additional movements. And there's a bunch of actions you can do with your action points. You get 5, which you can use to influence. Now, depending on the different abilities, so I have an agility of 5. This militia guy has an agility of 4. That means I will get an additional dice moving down in the series. So I haven't rolled, oh I have, I've rolled a hit there. Then I would move on to the damage caused, and that's based off the weapons. Now I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of how all this works, but needless to say, what I'm planning on is tactical movement where there's cover, range attacks, no particular movement phase. You can basically run over here, fire, and then try and seek cover or get out of range. And it's something I'm really excited about, and I'm going to be doing a little bit more on this channel. And it's also going to allow me to explore a few other things that I haven't really spent much time on the channel, such as map making. I mean, took me a couple of minutes. I'm no artist, but it's fit for purpose. But like I said, I've been using MapForge and a bit of Photoshop and been learning all about that. So that's fascinating. And you know what, even if this thing isn't successful, because again what I am learning is game design and balance is very difficult. It's a lot of fun, and I feel like I'm really appreciating the nuances of the games I play through having attempted to design my own. So this is Decline, a solitaire role-playing game, tactical combat game, and it's moving forward, so I'm quite happy with it. So if you've got any suggestions, please do drop them in the comments. Remember that link down there for the mailing list sign up if you want to hear more, and there'll be plenty more videos on this kind of theme. So thanks for watching, and I'll leave you with a few little shots of these brilliant miniatures from Pendraken. Thanks for watching.